Some secrets don't arrive like thunder. They arrive like a fingertip on your sleeve, so small you could miss it, unless you're the one standing closest. Tonight, StarWatch Now isn't chasing scandals. We're following something far rarer in celebrity culture, a quiet habit, a private reflex, and a moment that feels more like truth than performance. Because when someone reveals just enough, not to stir noise, but to protect what's real, people listen differently. In a world where every frame is paused, zoomed, and debated, public figures learn to control everything: the smile, the distance, the timing. But there's one thing that's difficult to rehearse: instinct. And according to the story now circulating, Wang Yibobaji casually mentioned a mischievous habit of Xiao Zhong that never belonged to the cameras. Not dramatic, not explosive, just quietly human. What was revealed was not a confession in the traditional sense. There were no dramatic words, no raised voices, no attempt to turn a private moment into public currency. Instead, it arrived quietly, almost cautiously, as if the speaker understood the weight of what he was about to share. The habit itself is disarmingly small. When the surroundings grow overwhelming, when voices overlap, when attention pulls from every direction, Xiao Zhong reportedly reaches out and gives a light, almost imperceptible pinch on the arm. It is not meant to be seen, and certainly not meant to be interpreted by others. It functions as a silent message, a grounding point, a reminder that someone familiar is there. What gives this moment its power is not the action, but the reaction. Wang Yibobaji does not dramatize it. He does not frame it as something special. He pauses, and in that pause, there is respect. The reveal feels less like sharing information and more like acknowledging a truth that has always existed. It suggests a level of attentiveness that cannot be manufactured, because noticing something this small means you were paying attention long before anyone asked you to speak. This story resonates not because it is extraordinary, but because it is recognizable. Audiences across cultures understand instinctively that closeness rarely announces itself. It reveals itself through habits that do not ask for permission to exist. In an industry built on performance, where gestures are measured and expressions controlled, viewers are trained to question what they see. They expect calculation, they expect intent. But this moment resists that instinct. It feels too unpolished, too unnecessary to be staged. What truly connects with people is the emotional logic behind the habit. A quiet gesture in a loud space speaks to emotional awareness. It suggests sensitivity rather than dominance, reassurance rather than display. Many viewers see themselves reflected here. Those who dislike noise, who need grounding, who communicate care without words. The story also restores a sense of trust. It does not demand belief. It allows space for interpretation. And because it does not insist, audiences lean in willingly. Rather than triggering excitement or controversy, it produces calm engagement. Viewers stay not to witness drama, but to feel something familiar and human. That is why it lingers. Not because it is loud, but because it is honest. The second habit is even easier to miss. It appears briefly, often disappearing before it can be registered. When Xiao Zhong laughs freely, caught off guard, unguarded for a moment, there is a short, instinctive pat. It carries no intention, no message meant for interpretation. It simply happens. This is where the story deepens. In public life, people learn how to laugh, when to laugh, and how long to hold the expression. Laughter becomes part of performance, but reflexive movement does not follow the same rules. It emerges before the mind has time to intervene. That is why this detail feels so intimate. Reflexes come from familiarity. They are born from repetition, from comfort, from the absence of self-consciousness. They are not designed for cameras. What makes this habit meaningful is not the action itself, but the context in which it exists. It suggests shared space over time, shared silence, shared ease. These are not things that develop overnight, nor can they be rehearsed. For viewers, this habit confirms what words cannot. It reinforces the idea that some connections exist quietly, sustained not by statements but by presence. Beyond the habits themselves, this story opens several emotional and psychological layers that are rarely discussed in celebrity narratives. First, the gesture functions as an anchor. In moments of sensory overload, small physical cues can stabilize emotions. Without drawing attention, they offer reassurance. This resonates strongly in a world where many people experience constant stimulation and quiet anxiety. Second, the story reframes maturity. Rather than equating closeness with visibility, it suggests that the strongest bonds often require restraint. The absence of public explanation becomes a sign of respect, not secrecy. Third, it challenges the assumption that silence equals distance. In this context, silence is intentional. It protects meaning from dilution. It keeps something real from being overanalyzed until it loses its shape. Finally, the story subtly shifts how audiences perceive affection. It is not portrayed as ownership or declaration, but as attentiveness. Seeing, noticing, and remembering small things becomes the highest form of care. These angles elevate the narrative from anecdote to reflection. The audience is not just observing two individuals, but reconsidering how connection itself is expressed, quietly, consistently, and without performance. To extend the emotional reach of this story, interactive elements can deepen engagement without compromising tone or safety. One approach is inviting viewers to reflect on their own experiences. Ask them to consider a small habit, something subtle, that makes them feel understood. This shifts the focus from speculation to empathy, allowing the audience to participate emotionally rather than analytically. Another idea is a short reflective segment exploring unspoken languages. Discuss how different cultures value quiet gestures, especially in environments where restraint is associated with respect. This adds international relevance and depth. You can also introduce a moment of pause within the video itself. A brief silence paired with soft narration mirrors the story's message. It encourages viewers to slow down rather than scroll away. Finally, consider offering viewers choice rather than conclusions. Present multiple interpretations: friendship, trust, emotional safety, without endorsing one. This respects audience intelligence and avoids polarization. These activities do not add noise, they add space. And space is exactly what makes this story feel authentic and emotionally sustainable. At its emotional center, this story is not about revelation, but recognition. Recognition that someone noticed what most people overlook. Recognition that care does not always arrive wrapped in explanation. The moment lingers because it is quiet. It does not resolve into a statement or demand agreement. Instead, it invites the audience to sit with a feeling, warm, restrained, and real. What remains after watching is not excitement, but stillness. A sense that meaningful connections are often protected by their subtlety. That some things survive precisely because they are not exposed to constant interpretation. For many viewers, the emotional peak arrives in silence. In the realization that being remembered in small ways is more powerful than being acknowledged publicly. That attention, when given without expectation, becomes a form of trust. This is why the story stays with people long after the screen goes dark. It does not tell them what to believe. It reminds them of something they already know but rarely articulate. And perhaps that is the quiet power of this narrative. It does not ask to be celebrated. It asks only to be understood. If you enjoyed this kind of calm, emotionally intelligent storytelling, please subscribe to StarWatch Now and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next upload. Thank you for watching and for keeping the conversation respectful. Until next time, take care of yourself, and we'll see you in the next story.